French arms company Thales SA has told the Pietermaritzburg High Court that the decision in 2018 to reinstate criminal charges against it was irrational and unconstitutional. Thales' subsidiary Thomson CSF scored a multi-million rand contract in South Africa's controversial arms deal of the 1990s. Thales is the co-accused in the fraud and corruption trial of former President Jacob Zuma. Both are applying for a permanent stay of prosecution. Talas argues that the 2018 decision to reinstitute corruption charges by the former National Director of Public Prosecutions head Sean Abrahams was unlawful and unconstitutional, as he relied on the wrong laws of the MPA Act. They want the court to review the decision and set it aside. They're also applying for a permanent stay of prosecution and arguing suffering and severe pre-trial prejudice, saying that 9 years have lapsed since the charges were withdrawn against the company in 2009. Advocate Anton Katz had a tough time marking his submissions. His arguments centered on the decision by former acting NDPP Mkotodi Mshe to withdraw charges against Zuma and Thales.
Each accused is to be determined on its own facts and circumstances. Thales is independent of Mr. Zuma. Mr. Zuma is independent of Thales. And when you consider Mr. Thales, you consider Thales' facts and circumstances, not Mr. Zuma's. When you consider Zuma and not Thales. And what the NPA have done is said, bad Zuma, bad Thales, good Zuma, good Thales.
Please, they say they still have evidence that can sustain a conviction. Simple. That's one of the reasons.
But why are they independent of each other? Should we go back to the indictment? What does the indictment say? What does the indictment say?
Well, you know what Abrams did in this case, as far as the indictment is concerned. You know what he did. After he made his decision, which we say he was hell-bent on making in a fettering of his discretion in paragraph 190, he then gave us an opportunity. Wait, no, he didn't give us an opportunity. He took in representations from Thales. He then rejected the representations for one reason and one reason only, and I had come to this in the morning, and it's in his correspondence, and that was because there are reasonable prospects of success. No other reason. Then he says, oh, by the way, I am asking the prosecution team, and you can go back to 22.9 and jump up and down about it, but there is a prosecution team, it's not him, to consider whether to add charges. Court knows that. On a previous occasion, I stood up and I said that Abrams' reference to this adding of charges is in respect of a crime that doesn't exist under South African law. And Mr. Downer stood up and accepted that.
Well, Judge Jerome Mnguni, however, pointed out that the matter of Zuma and Thales pertaining to the Mshe decision were intertwined. Judge Tolapoyo Dwati also agreed on this. Judge Esther Steyn told Katz that the withdrawal of charges in 2009 didn't mean that it was a permanent withdrawal. Well, for more on today's court case, we're now joined by our reporter Ayanda Mhlongo, who's in Pietermaritzburg and been following this story for us. Let's join her now. Ayanda, thanks very much indeed for joining us. So today it's over and it looks like they'll be back in court on Thursday. But take us through what was presented in court today.
Yeah, very good afternoon to you, Peter, and good afternoon to our viewers. Day two of the Zuma and Talas matter here before the Pietermaritzburg High Court. As you said, a long day again today after a very long day yesterday with the Zuma defense team making their presentations or arguments before the Pietermaritzburg High Court. And today it was the turn of the Talas defense team, starting off the morning with Advocate Anton Katz. And basically, to sum up what Advocate Katz was saying was that it seemed, according to them, that the NPA was hell-bent, and in fact he used the word hell-bent on prosecuting the French arms company Talas. And firstly, in his arguments, wanting to deal with the matter of with the charges, the matter of the reinstatement of charges, and saying that from the onset that Talas had not been included when the issue of the reinstatement of charges was dealt with, specifically with regards to the former president's case, that Talas was not included. And he went on quite in detail on their arguments as to why they felt that the charges should not have been reinstated against the French arms company, and also saying that even when it came to the matter of the representations that the Jacob Zuma defense team were afforded the opportunity to make representations to the NPA, but they were not given that opportunity to make representations. As well as they've always said that even in the documents that were put forward by the NPA, that there was nothing that spoke about Talas, and that for that reason they felt that the courts need to review that decision, firstly, that the charges against the company be reinstated. The other matter, of course, that they went on and in the afternoon elaborated on was the delays in the case. While they accept that they could partly have been responsible for the delays before 2009, but saying that since then there had been 9 years where no charges were reinstated against them, and that the state never acted on their charges, and they felt that there would be prejudice. And the other matter regarding prejudice was the fact that, and the law advocate that continued in the afternoon with the Talas defense, saying that there was also the issue of the witnesses, that there were 4 witnesses which the state has also said that they were unavailable, and so there was this concern that they raised, and she elaborated quite extensively on this issue, that these witnesses, which would have been crucial to their case, that these witnesses are no longer available. And the state, in fact, has also conceded to the fact that they've tried to locate these witnesses and that these witnesses are no longer available. So, in essence, I think the argument for the Talas rested on the 2 matters was the delay, but most importantly, what they put forth, and they spent a lot of time on that, is the fact that they feel that the court needs to look into the decision of the reinstatement of charges by the NPA.
All right, so Advocate Katz not having an easy time with the judges today from what I saw, and he was at pains to try and separate, it seemed, President Zuma's case to Talas, saying that one shouldn't be connected to the other. But the judges not totally convinced by that.
Yes, certainly. There was a lot of back and forth between the judges and Advocate Katz. And as you're saying correctly there, Peter, that it seemed that he faced a lot of questions if you compare it to Advocate Muzi Skakane from the Zuma defense team. There were a lot of questions that were being posed by the judges to Advocate Katz, but he felt that the two should be separate. That in fact, with regards to this case and the manner in which the NPA has handled this case, he said that to try and quote him exactly, to say that if Zuma was bad, then Talas was bad. And what he was trying to say is that these two should be separated, because in the manner in which the NPA has handled the issue with regards to the former president's matter has been different to them. And raising the point, as I've said, he even arguably raised the point of the representations, that the Zuma team were allowed to make representations, and that this was not afforded that opportunity to the French arms company Talas. So certainly there was that back and forth, and the judges saying that on a lot of questions that they did ask him, that he did not reply to them, but eventually for the sake of time the judges allowing him in, but he then left it to the judges that he had made made his point that it was really now up to the court, but he felt that the matters, the case of the former President Jacob Zuma and that of the company that he is representing should be separate.
All right, Ayanda, that's where we're going to leave it. Thanks very much indeed. No doubt you'll be giving us more updates when things resume on Thursday. That's our reporter Ayanda Mhlongo in Pietermaritzburg, reporting on the case that's playing out there in the courts, and one that's gaining a lot of interest, not just inside the courts and the protagonists involved, but society at large as well, because it's been going on for so long. And to help me unpack some of this, I'm now joined in studio by Dr. WILLIAM MPOFU, who's a researcher from the Centre of Diversity Studies from WITS University. Thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, so this is a case that's been running an incredibly long time. It was on, then it was off, and then it was off for a long time for various reasons, and I'm sure these will be unpacked. I'm just wondering your initial reactions about this case, the length of time it's been out there, and the interests of justice in all of this.
Yeah, I think what can be observed, Peter, is the old and also very durable and powerful relationship that brings into intersection the province of politics itself, the province of law, and the province of criminality. Whenever and wherever these three provinces intersect, there's bound to be spectacles, a lot of drama and some games, because there's always the attempt for those that are accused of criminality to attempt to use and abuse politics, to use and abuse law, to insulate themselves from these charges and to escape the justice. And almost always the individuals, the organizations that come into these provinces are almost always powerful people that enjoy the privilege of money, that have got access to knowledge like legal representation. And there's also the power of the state itself as a machinery. And what almost always gets lost is the interest of the poor masses of the people out there who deserve truth, who deserve justice, and who demand accountability from the powerful. So the question of ethics becomes more important.
This is the question I want to ask you, because what we're seeing are two protagonists, three actually in total, Talas, Zuma, and the state. But actually, society has a vested interest in what comes out of this. Justice isn't just for the people involved in the case directly, but society has an interest and a need, I guess.
Yeah, what we can say, Peter, actually, is that there are a lot of things in this intersection of power, criminality, and law that can be correct. Individuals and organizations are correct at law to defend themselves, to make technical arguments, and to stretch the law and politics to whatever extent is within their rights. But not everything that is correct is right. So ethically, we are now speaking in moral terms. There is a mass of people out there that have vested interests, that have need to be told the truth, to understand what happened, and to find closure in this intersection of these three powerful provinces. So it's important to think about the powerless whenever power intersects and does these games.
So one argument is justice delayed is justice denied, and that perhaps this thing has dragged on for so long that it would be unjust for President Zuma and Talas to actually even go to court. But perhaps the other side of this is, if there's a case to answer, then the case must be answered.
Yeah, in social justice terms, denying justice or delaying it are equally immoral or evil facilities of power, because it's the use of power that gets people to be able to delay processes, to be able to deny certain processes, and to use knowledge, money and political influence to protect themselves. The question of who is guilty here and who is not guilty can be left to the competent courts. We are not given, or we must give ourselves the platform to judge. But ethically, knowledge of the truth, information, and seeing justice to be done is what the masses out there deserve, and what must not be denied them, and what must not be delayed. So power must be brought to accountability here, and be brought down to where it does not, whether pushed by those that are accused of criminality or by politicians or by legal experts, to delay what the masses out there deserve.
I would imagine that people, we've talked about them, but some kind of conclusion, one way or other, there needs to come quite soon now. Because it's taken so long, there's a desire to get some decision of one way or another.
Definitely, time is being used here as a resource to delay or deny justice. And like I said before, these are all power games from different directions. And there comes a time where power must be unmasked, to say, all you legal experts, all you politicians, and all you people that are accused understand that the truth is needed, and it's needed with some kind of urgency. And that is not for political or any other reasons, but for social justice and the public happiness of the bread eaters out there.
Okay, Dr. MPOFU will be watching this, as society has been for some time now. Let's hope that justice is served for all and for the good of society. Thanks so much indeed for coming in and sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you.